I was so broke my pockets practically echoed.
So when a money-saving reality show offered me 500 yuan to survive for 1 month,
And promised 14 fives, 1,000 yuan, to whoever saved the most by the end, I signed up with the kind of reckless courage only poverty can give. Most people's first instinct was obvious. Live on instant noodles and steamed buns, maybe even cut it down to 1 meal a day to save money. But to me that was small-time thinking. Wasn't this just a contest to see who could be stingier? And when it comes to saving money and squeezing every possible freebie out of the world, I'm basically ancestor level.
on the very first day the show started, I got up before dawn. I walked out of the dorm building from memory, then headed to the empty roadside and started jogging.
Since I couldn't see the live comments, I had no idea the viewers were panicking for me and calling me stupid in the barrage. They were probably saying things like, I thought everyone would just sleep all day to reduce eating and spending. I didn't expect someone to get up this early. It's not even light out yet. What's he going to do? Don't tell me he's going for a morning run.
That's so dumb. Shouldn't he be conserving strength right now? Avoiding burning energy? Eating less? Spending less?
I can't watch this. It's too stupid.
They should have let me on instead.
I could lie there for 48 hours without eating and without spending a cent. At a time like this, he's still focused on self-discipline. He's not a celebrity. What's with his fake idol-style performance?
This guy should be on a talent show.
Putting him on this program is a complete waste. I ran for about 10 minutes, and for about 10 minutes, the viewers cursed me right along with it. And then, finally, I stopped in front of a pharmacy. The moment I pulled a flyer from my pocket, the chat completely lost it.
Right there on the paper were a few bold words: free eggs.
That was my first step in saving money. Harvesting wool, the real kind.
The flyer in my hand was from a place called C1 Pharmacy, and it clearly said, promotional item, limited to 300 now 1,000 per day.
You have to understand, activities like this are insanely popular among the elderly, so if I wanted to win, I had to get there early. That was the real reason I got up early and went for that healthy morning jog. By 8:30 a.m.
When the sky was fully bright and the pharmacy finally opened,
a whole line of elderly people had already formed behind me. The salesperson gave me a strange look. I was standing at the very front, and I was also the only young man in the entire line.
Then he looked away,
pointed at the forms on the paper table and said, "Register your name and phone number here, and you can receive your free eggs." I calmly picked up the pen, wrote down a string of phone numbers without hesitation,
and walked back to the dorm carrying a majin of eggs with a grin on my face.
The barrage appeared again, almost like it had changed its religion on the spot. Sorry, I judged too fast. He doesn't have to go hungry, and he didn't even break the rules. This freebie move was actually solid. Now I'm starting to look forward to how this handsome guy is going to keep freeloading later. This method is great, sure, but you'd need a really strong heart to endure all the weird looks from other people. As a young person, I honestly wouldn't have the nerve to do this. But honestly, what was there to be embarrassed about? Why feel ashamed for no reason?
Because of that ridiculous self-respect of yours that isn't even worth as much as gin of eggs? Can that pride fill your stomach?
With this free gin of eggs, at least my food problem for the next couple of days had a pretty good solution.
The dorm kitchen was a shared space, and every guest had to cook there.
The production team had thoughtfully prepared basic cookware and seasonings, so all I had to do was wash the eggs a little, and I could make myself a delicious egg breakfast.
Right then, Manhwa happened to come downstairs, heard movement from the kitchen, and immediately crept over.
"You bought so many eggs?" she asked.
She stared at the eggs sizzling in the frying pan and unconsciously swallowed.
Really? Who could refuse waking up in the morning and getting to eat 2 beautiful fried eggs?
Then she asked, "Do you need me to help you?" I smiled politely.
No need. The moment my words fell, the air went quiet, except for the crackling sound of food frying.
Manhwa waited and waited, clearly expecting me to say the polite line she wanted to hear. "Do you want to eat with me?" But it never came.
She probably couldn't tell whether I was selfish, pretending to be dumb, or just had low emotional intelligence.
With so many eggs, what was the big deal about giving her 2?
I couldn't finish them all by myself anyway, right? In her mind, I didn't understand basic social etiquette at all. And once she thought about having to go out and buy breakfast herself, she couldn't think of anything economical besides instant noodles. But right now, there was a chance to freeload, and she clearly didn't want to let it go easily. So Meng Wei smiled, and Judong opened the conversation again.
Those eggs smell great. You're eating pretty early. I just woke up and haven't eaten yet. The hint was so obvious that if I still didn't get it, then I had to be deliberately refusing to feed her. I put the fried eggs onto a plate and said flatly, "Then stop standing here watching me."
Hurry up and go eat your own, she pressed on. I want to get some eggs too. Economical and practical. I didn't react at all. I simply put the remaining raw eggs into the fridge, labeled with my name, and said, "Then go get some outside." Seriously, I was impossible to soften. Even the viewers could tell what she was trying to do. Why does it feel like this woman is trying to take advantage of him?
Even I can tell she wants to eat his eggs.
How did he not hear that?
Maybe he did hear it, and he just wanted to leave her a little dignity at the end. And they were right.
Under normal circumstances, I naturally wouldn't be stingy over 2 eggs. But right now, we were competitors. Opportunity was equal in front of everyone. This wasn't a life or death moment, so why exactly should I let Meng Wei sponge food and drinks off me?
Help her save money?
Did my head look stupid? When Meng Wei saw me carry my plate to the dining table and sit down, she shamelessly let out a long sigh and said, "I wonder if the market sells just 2 eggs.
I don't want to buy as many as you did.
I'm afraid I won't finish them, and they'll go to waste. In weather this hot, they go bad easily." The way she said it, she was basically one sentence away from directly saying, "Why don't you just give me 2 eggs?"
I picked up a fried egg with my chopsticks.
The heat had been perfect. Both sides were fried golden.
One bite in, it was crisp outside and tender inside.
I saw Meng Wei swallow twice more, and then, like her stomach had no pride at all, it let out a loud growl.
I slowly finished that bite before speaking.
They won't go bad.
There's a refrigerator here. Go look around nearby first. If you really want to buy 2 eggs and can't find any, I can sell you 2 later. Meng Wei thought she'd misheard me. She repeated it in disbelief.
Sell me 2? All she wanted was to freeload a meal, and I was really being that petty? I really had to sell her 2 eggs?
I looked at her and said, "You heard me right." Her expression almost snapped.
Fu Yansheng, we're guests on the same show.
We're still going to see each other for the next month.
They're just 2 eggs, and you still want to charge me? My eyes held a trace of innocent confusion.
You're an adult, and you're not embarrassed to freeload. Why should I be embarrassed to charge you? That did it. Her face turned completely dark.
Who's freeloading?
I'll go buy them myself. After Meng Wei left, I quickly finished breakfast too.
I washed my plate clean, turned around, went upstairs, and started figuring out where my next meal would come from. As the saying goes, if you don't think ahead, trouble will find you soon enough.
I couldn't just rely on that 1 gin of eggs and stop looking for other methods. At lunchtime, the viewers finally met the other 2 guests, Ji Mingchuan and An Lan. Both of them were the type who started eating from noon onward and only had 2 meals a day. So skipping breakfast saved them 1 meal outright. Since they ate at about the same time, they found common ground and went together to a nearby shop, where they bought a wholesale box of bagged instant noodles and split it in half. The price was good. The quantity wasn't so much that they'd get sick of it, and once they finished, they could switch flavors quickly. While the 2 of them were back at the dorm getting their noodles ready, Meng Wei didn't stay idle either. While I was away, she selectively retold the story in a casual tone. That Fu Yansheng guy is really stingy. Today, he actually told me he wanted to sell me 2 eggs. I think he just wants to win, so he's trying to make money off us. You all should be careful around him. Don't let him scheme against you. The moment her words fell, Ji Mingchuan suddenly noticed a figure at the kitchen door. Meng Wei followed his gaze, and the instant she saw me, she jolted in guilt. Ji Mingchuan looked at me. Progress update. Part 1 translation, 50% complete, Mondi 40% remaining.
Timestamp 0, Rovsayer 507. Reading the room, I asked one extra question.
Want to come with me?
We'd be freeloading off someone else anyway, not off me, so I don't mind bringing you along for a meal.
Who knows how many meals we'll have to go hungry for in the days ahead?
If we can get 1 good free meal now, we should take it. Meng Wei answered before anyone else could. No, you're way too good at business. If I eat with you, I'll probably end up spending extra money for nothing. Earlier that morning, she'd hinted at me over and over just to wait for that sentence. But I never said it. Now I finally did, and to her it was too late. Besides, who knew whether that selling eggs incident had given me some fresh idea? Maybe I was secretly cooking up some new scheme to trick them and squeeze money out of them. That was when I finally glanced at Mengwei for the first time. I deliberately looked left and right, front and back, pretending to be confused, and said, "I wasn't talking to you." "Who exactly are you answering?" That little sequence instantly made her lose face. Even Ji Mingchuan and An Lan almost failed to hold it in. My words and my expression nearly made them laugh. Mengwei's face darkened on the spot, and the live chat immediately had a field day with it. Fu Yansheng really knows how to deal with passive-aggressive people. Why is this woman stabbing him in the back and trying to get everyone to isolate him? Why doesn't she mention that she was the one trying to freeload his eggs? The pick-me act finally cracked, huh? She just can't play anymore. Does Fu Yansheng have another new way to eat for free? I'm actually looking forward to it. Ji Mingchuan turned and exchanged a glance with Anlan beside him, then looked back, awkwardly smiled as he tore open his instant noodle packet, and said, "Our lunch is already being prepared, so we won't go. You should go ahead." No matter what kind of person I was, from their perspective, being cautious in a competition wasn't a bad idea. "All right then," I said. I nodded once, didn't say anything more, and turned to leave. Mengwei curled her lips as she watched my back while I walked away alone after being rejected. She felt secretly pleased. Then she took back her gaze, sat down by the table, and watched Ji Mingchuan and Anlan making their noodles. When the rich smell of seasoning and hot noodles slowly rose from the bowls, she swallowed. "Yeah, you two are eating lunch pretty early." "I haven't eaten yet." It was the same familiar line all over again. The viewers were instantly on guard. So tell me, who's the one trying to trick people now? Mr. Ramen and Ms. Ramen, don't fall for it. Learn from Fu Yansheng and reject her hard. If you give in once, there'll be a second time. You two already have the least money. If she sets her sights on you, you're definitely going to lose. Mengwei stared directly at the noodle bowls in front of them and swallowed again without meaning to. Ji Mingchuan frowned, clearly at a loss. If he invited her to eat, he'd be helping a competitor save a meal. If he refused, then judging from how she looked, he'd make himself seem heartless. And the cameras were filming everything. If he came off too cold, the viewers would definitely curse him for being as stingy as me. The truth was, whether he got the 5,000 yuan grand prize didn't matter all that much to him. What he really wanted was the popularity award and the chance to sign with an entertainment company and become an artist. A bright future in show business sounded better than 5,000 yuan. So, for the popularity votes, and to keep the audience from calling him stingy, Ji Mingchuan pulled a packet from his half of the noodle box and handed it to her. "You haven't eaten yet? Then have some with us." The second Mengwei successfully freeloaded a meal, she was thrilled. "Oh, how could I?" she said, while instantly reaching out and quickly taking the noodles. And Lan, who had been silent the whole time, simply picked up her noodle bowl and shifted to the side, quietly putting a little more distance between herself and the other two. The viewers were going crazy. What is Mr. Ramen doing? Did he graduate from the University of Saintly Mother Teresa or something? "Mr. Ramen, why don't you just hand over the 5 yuan prize too? This is making me so angry! Mr. Ramen, you fool! That woman finally managed to leech food off another guest. I'm going back to watch Fu Yansheng. Go! Go!" Those three are eating instant noodles in the dorm, while Fu Yansheng is sitting in a restaurant eating a free feast. The gap is way too big, and they were right. At that exact moment, I was inside a hot pot barbecue restaurant where a giant poster for a new store opening promotion hung on the wall. It said that if you guessed the correct 3 characters, you could eat for free. I was sitting there, enjoying my free lunch. The poster also clearly said each person only got one chance to have their bill waived, and that excessive waste wasn't allowed. If you couldn't finish the food, there would be a penalty. So at the server's request, after registering my name and phone number, I ordered a 1-person portion. The viewers were dying to know whether I would actually manage to eat a truly free lunch, so they all camped in my live stream, waiting for me to finish. And just when I finally got done eating and stood up to leave, the server walked over and said, "Your total comes to 8 po. Mobile payment or cash?" I could practically hear the viewers exploding. I knew it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Even though 13 yuan for this meal is still cheap. The other guests are eating instant noodles that cost only 1 yuan a pack.
And Meng Wei didn't spend anything on lunch at all.
So Fu Yansheng probably came out at a loss on this one. A small lesson is fine.
I had a friend who joined a free event and ended up being tricked into spending thousands. You really can't just grab random bargains casually. What I'm more curious about is,
what exactly are those Thent and Yun for? I looked at the server, confused.
Didn't the promotion say if I guessed the 3 characters right, I could eat for free?
I already cleared it.
Why am I still being charged?
The server answered, it's for tea and tableware. None of that had been clearly written on the promotional ad, and I had not been informed. I fell silent for 2 seconds, pulled a 100 yuan bill from my pocket, and handed it over.
Once the server gave me change and a receipt, I got up and walked out of the restaurant. But after I reached the doorway, I didn't leave right away.
Instead, I took out my phone and made a call. Hello, I'd like to report something.
Generally speaking, tableware should be provided free of charge in a restaurant. Charging for it without the consumer's consent is illegal.
As for the tea fee, I didn't order any tea at all. Isn't that obvious fraud? The viewers couldn't hear what the person on the other end was saying.
All they saw was me standing there silently for a while.
After calmly listening to the questions, I lowered my eyes to the receipt in my hand and said, yes, I have clear evidence with me. The relevant department moved fast. In less than 5 minutes, I was still standing at the restaurant entrance with both hands in my pockets when the owner personally came out and invited me back inside. I was taken into his office for a face-to-face negotiation.
The boss put on a smiling face and poured me tea.
Hello, I'm the owner of Fuxiwen Hot Pot Barbecue.
My surname is Meng. After introducing himself, Boss Meng sat down across from me and said, if there's anything you're unhappy about, you could have just told me directly.
Was this really necessary?
I'll refund you right now, but first you need to give me the receipt in your hand. I calmly pulled the receipt from my pocket.
But just as my hand extended, I paused for a beat, then instantly pulled it back. The boss was left staring blankly by that move.
I raised an eyebrow.
So you'll refund me, but you'll still cheat the next customer, right? Boss Meng suppressed the frustration in his heart and patiently explained, you can't put it like that. We're not cheating anyone. It's just that, young man, you don't understand. The whole industry works like this now. If you're still unhappy, how about this? Next time you come, I'll waive another meal for you. I guarantee I won't charge you anything at all. I didn't budge.
This isn't about waiving one meal. The hint was so obvious that a man like Boss Meng, who had been dealing with society for years, could hardly fail to understand it.
A trace of mockery flashed in his eyes, and he decided to speak plainly. Then how do you want to settle this? What kind of more practical compensation do you want? I slowly repeated those words.
More practical compensation. Then I said nothing else.
I just looked at him with a meaningful gaze. Boss Meng considered himself a smart man, the kind who understood with one hint, so he immediately smiled and continued. How about 3 free meals?
I said nothing.
Smart Boss Meng took my silence as dissatisfaction. 5? I still wore a half-hesitant, half-unfinished expression. He clenched his molars. I'll give you 10 free meals. I struggled internally for a brief moment. That actually wasn't what I had originally planned to say. But this black-hearted boss was personally delivering benefits right to my door.
If I rejected that, wouldn't I be hurting his feelings? More importantly, I'd be hurting my own feelings.
Those were 10 free meal vouchers.
So I asked, and the money I spent gets refunded too, right?
Of course, absolutely. Refunded. And then? And then? Boss Meng took quite a while before he understood what I meant.
He frowned so hard, it looked like his back teeth were about to shatter. But on the surface, he still forced out a fake smile that was practically cracking apart.
How much more compensation do you want? At that point, the viewers started arguing fiercely over the whole thing. Damn. Just now, I wanted to say Fu Yansheng handled that beautifully. But listening to the two of them now, why does this feel a little like blackmail versus black shop? What's the difference between what Fu Yansheng is doing and what the black-hearted boss did? Those two are basically the same kind of person. I'm a little disappointed in Fu Yansheng.
I originally thought he was pretty righteous, but others pushed back immediately. Fu Yansheng got cheated first.
Isn't it normal for him to take the advantage back from the boss using the same method? That logic makes sense, but the nature of the situation is changing. At first he was defending his rights. But if this keeps going, and the compensation he asks for gets too excessive, then it starts turning into extortion. My free lunch incident instantly exploded online.
I had only just started broadcasting, yet my popularity had already become the highest among all the guests. What Boss Ming still didn't know was that every single thing he did was being fully live-streamed by the hidden camera I was wearing. He didn't know that, but I did. There was no way I could really go for lion mouth level extortion. If that got streamed out, every word and every action of mine would be magnified online, scrutinized, watched, and dissected by all kinds of so-called bloggers and professionals analyzing whether what I did was legal. But letting this black-hearted boss man off that easily wasn't an option either. I thought for a moment, then said, be sensible. Provide customers with free tableware, cancel the tea charge entirely, and as for my compensation, just handle it according to the legal standard. Boss Meng's face turned ugly. And honestly, it wasn't just him. Even those troublemaking viewers who had been trying to steer the rhythm against me suddenly felt like they'd been slapped in the face. The little haters who had been stabbing at me from the sidelines got hit with the exact opposite result. My positive image shot up several levels in an instant. All those jealous people who tried to kick me while I was down ended up handing me an immeasurable wave of traffic and goodwill for free. On the surface, Boss Meng agreed to my demands. He decided to smooth me over first and talk later, then compensated me 500 yuan, according to the relevant rules, on top of the 10 free meals he had already promised. After I left, the server standing nearby asked him, "Boss, are we really canceling those extra charges?" Boss Meng leaned back against the sofa, stared gloomily at the direction I had left, and sneered, "Who does he think he is? Does he really think he's some hero who can save the world? He even wants to speak up for other customers? Too naive. Forget about him. Charge normally." But just a few seconds later, I suddenly remembered something. So I turned right back around and returned to Boss Meng's office. I pushed the office door open and poked my head inside. Boss Meng was in the middle of drinking tea. The moment he looked up and saw a head suddenly appear at the doorway, he almost sprayed the tea straight out of his mouth. I gave him a friendly smile. "Oh, right. I forgot to remind you. This is all being live streamed. The righteous viewers across the internet will be watching you. I hope you keep your word." Then I left with a cheerful smile, just like that. What I didn't know at that moment was that, inside the president's office of Nanxing Entertainment, Gu Nanji was sitting in her boss chair and turning her computer screen toward the elegant woman sitting across from her. On that screen was the live stream of the money-saving variety show, and the clip playing just happened to be me eating that free lunch. After a moment, Gu Nanji looked at the woman across from her, a noble, cool-tempered beauty in a black custom dress, and asked, "So? Isn't this new show I invested in interesting?" Shen Yining leaned back in her chair in a relaxed posture, her cold gaze resting on the boy on the screen. That was me. For a long while before she finally replied, "It's all right." Gu Nanji curled her lips, unable to hide the delight on her face. "More importantly, what do you think of this young guy? I think he's especially my type. Especially that energy he has. You know, that I don't care what other people think. I'll do whatever I want, and I refuse to take a loss kind of attitude. It's way too perfect for my taste." Shen Yining slowly lifted her eyes and glanced at her. That one look was a little cold. So cold, in fact, that it made Gu Nanji flinch. But after that single glance, Shen Yining lowered her lashes again and continued looking at me on the screen. Gu Nanji convinced herself that the chill she just felt must have been her imagination. I wonder if he has a girlfriend. But even if he does, that's fine. I can wait for him to break up. A boy this interesting is worth me putting in some effort. Shen Yining, who had stayed silent the whole time, finally seemed unable to listen anymore. "Whether he has a girlfriend or not, it won't be your turn." Gu Nanji immediately shot back. "What kind of thing is that to say? I'm this outstanding. How could he possibly not like me?" But halfway through the sentence, she suddenly stopped because she seemed to realize something. "How do you know? Don't tell me you have a crush on him. Or are you his girlfriend?" The moment Gu Nanji said that, Shen Yining's phone buzzed twice. She couldn't be bothered to respond to Gu Nanji, so she pulled out her phone and glanced at the screen. There were 2 text messages. Shen Yining entered her passcode and opened them. The first one read, "C1 Pharmacy, dear valued member. During this week's electricity celebration event, with your registered phone number, you can enjoy 8.8 discount pricing on all healthcare products." The second read, "Sayuan Pharmacy, dear valued member. Next Wednesday, our store will invite a famous cardiovascular and cerebrovascular expert from Haishi for a health lecture. With your registered phone number,
You can enjoy professional health consultation, and after the lecture, you can also receive bo gin of eggs for free. Shen Yining frowned slightly.
Since when had she ever become a pharmacy member?
By the time the show had only been airing for one morning, I had already occupied 4 trending searches by myself.
Some viewers mocked me as the very symbol of stinginess.
In their eyes, I wasn't just a high-level freebie monster. I was the kind of man who would even charge a fellow guest for 2 eggs, then shamelessly demand 10 free meals from a restaurant owner. They said my skin was thicker than ordinary people could ever hope to achieve. But other viewers said I was refreshingly genuine, that I dared to act and dared to fight back against a black-hearted merchant, that I was a straight-up handsome guy with a real personality. Opinions were split right down the middle, praise and criticism mixed together, but none of that stopped me from blowing up. Add in all the reposts and likes from official accounts, and the popularity in my livestream kept climbing like crazy. At the same time, the issue of random restaurant charges on that dining street was being discussed more and more widely by viewers, and that quickly drew the attention of the relevant departments. About 10 minutes earlier, back inside the 3-story dorm the production team had prepared, Meng Wei had been sitting leisurely on the sofa after lunch, scrolling through her phone. Just thinking about how she had freeloaded instant noodles from another guest at noon and saved the cost of 1 meal made her secretly happy. In her mind, besides me, there were still fools in this place. But the smug smile on her face hadn't lasted long before it froze completely. What?
While we were in the dorm eating instant noodles, Fu Yansheng was outside eating barbecue.
And not only that, I had also gotten 500 yuan and 10 free meal vouchers. Most importantly of all, she had just rejected me earlier. If she hadn't refused, things would be different.
But even as she was thinking that, something else started bothering her.
The restaurant and the owner's build and posture looked more and more familiar the longer she stared.
Before she could figure out why, the host, Zhao Lin, suddenly walked toward her with a serious expression.
Meng Wei,
A viewer reported that you broke the rules.
come with me for a moment. Meng Wei looked up, confused. Broke the rules? I didn't, Zhao Lin replied. Our show is absolutely fair. Don't worry, we will never wrong any guest. Just come with me first while we verify the situation. With no other choice, Meng Wei followed Zhao Lin into a room. There was also a camera inside, so viewers could understand the truth. Zhao Lin didn't bother with suspense. She directly told Meng Wei why she had been reported. A viewer reported that you were treated to a meal by someone you know. Meng Wei understood instantly. The only thing she had freeloaded today was that packet of instant noodles. She didn't panic at all and calmly explained, "The rule says it has to be an acquaintance.
I'm not familiar with that handsome guy at all."
Before today, we hadn't even met face to face. I only heard his name from the staff, so we're not acquaintances. At most, we're just guests on the same program.
And your production team never said we weren't allowed to eat another guest's food.
Besides, today was our first day meeting.
That handsome guy kindly gave me a packet of instant noodles.
If I had refused, wouldn't that have made things awkward for him?
There are so many machines live streaming us. After hearing her explanation and discussing it with the chief director, Zhao Lin arrived at the final result. Meng Wei indeed did not count as violating the rules, because the show really had never stated that guests couldn't eat each other's food.
And the relationship between the guests indeed didn't count as prior acquaintance in that sense. So Meng Wei was declared innocent and released. But she didn't leave the little black room right away.
Now that she had cleared her name, her confidence came flooding back.
She sat there in the chair and said unhappily, "If my situation can be reported, then I think there's someone else who should be reported too." Zhao Lin asked, "Who do you want to report?" "I want to report Fu Yansheng. He's too much of a threat now. All of our money is only going down, but his money is going up. Right from the start, he already pulled ahead by 500 yuan. And just like that."
While I still had no idea I'd been reported, I had only just returned to the dorm when the staff took me into the little black room as well.
The moment I entered, I saw Zhao Lin and Meng Wei already there. "Someone reported you for breaking the rules." I tilted my head slightly, and guided by instinct, I looked straight at Meng Wei. She met my eyes for less than 3 seconds, before immediately looking away.
She looked exactly like someone panicking out of guilt. How did I break the rules?
Zhao Lin explained, "The person who reported you said you got 500 yuan, freeloaded a meal, and the restaurant owner also promised to treat you to 10 more meals. Explain it to everyone." So I laid out the entire cause and effect in a precise, orderly way. That free meal was something I obtained reasonably, by participating in the restaurant's event. The 500 yuan and the 10 meals were legal compensation voluntarily given to me by the owner. First, the owner and I are not acquaintances. Second, I didn't provide him any labor.
So how can this possibly count as a violation?
If anyone still doesn't believe me, you can play the footage. The moment you find even one sentence I said to be false, you won't need to ask me. I'll leave the show myself. The way I spoke, upright, steady, and full of backbone, instantly weakened Meng Wei's momentum. Zhao Lin and the chief director, who had been paying close attention to what was happening here, were both visibly stunned. Seriously, who would have thought?
Right at the beginning of the show, I had reported a restaurant, won extra compensation, and turned the whole situation around.
I was practically made for this kind of program, but Meng Wei still refused to let it go.
Her meaning was clear. If this doesn't count as breaking the rules, then all of us can just go make money by reporting businesses.
How is that any different from turning it into a job? Professional reporting. Then she pushed further.
If it doesn't count as a violation, fine. But then, the 500 yuan the restaurant owner gave him should be confiscated. And those 10 free meals shouldn't be allowed either.
And starting now, add a rule. If this kind of thing happens again, it counts as a violation. I wasn't about to back down. I shot Meng Wei a glance and said, "Then spit out that packet of instant noodles you freeloaded from another guest, untouched and exactly as it was, and let the program confiscate that. If you can do that, I'll agree." The moment I said it, I dragged my chair and my entire body a little farther to the side, opening up distance between myself and Meng Wei. The disgust in my tone was obvious.
Go ahead.
You can start your performance now. Progress update, Part 2 translation. 51% complete. 49% remaining.
Timestamp 00:17, 40. Some people probably thought I was sick in the head for saying that.
But from the production team's perspective, the situation was actually pretty simple.
Logically speaking, this kind of reporting did not count as anyone's profession.
But since I had already opened that path first, it would be unfair if the production team banned everyone else from doing the same. So the ruling became, if you can also find merchants worth reporting and obtain legal compensation, then you're allowed to do it too. Meng Wei had only thrown out that example casually because she wanted to mess with me.
But in reality, who could actually make money by doing this every single day?
Wouldn't that just offend people everywhere?
After that, the matter was considered settled.
Since her attempt had failed, Meng Wei stood up without another word and left the little black room. I left right behind her. Just before going upstairs, I glanced at Meng Wei, who was sitting on the sofa, and said coldly, "If you're a real person, then win with your own ability. Always scheming behind people's backs like this really makes me look down on you." My tone almost made her jump in anger.
What do you mean by that?
Who are you saying isn't a real person? Who are you saying has no ability? Why would I need your approval?
Who's scheming behind anyone's back?
I'm respecting the game rules. I let out a soft scoff and started walking upstairs. Meng Wei, humiliated by my disdain, was so angry that her face and ears turned red. I'm not going to argue with you. And neither was I. I had no interest in wasting more energy bickering with her, so I went back to my room upstairs and took a nap. After Meng Wei and I left, Zhao Lin watched the replay of my lunchtime incident together with the chief director. "At this rate, we won't even need to buy our own trending searches," she said. And honestly, after Fu Yansheng's move, he really did a good job.
Our show's reputation and overall level have been pulled way up. The chief director was feeling more and more pleased, until he suddenly sensed a problem. Zhao Lin noticed it at once. But what?
The chief director replied, "He's leaving the other guests too far behind. If a contestant is too strong, and we don't balance the stage a little, the show will become completely suspense-free and lose its appeal." Zhao Lin nodded. "You're right. Then how about we have Director Fu upgrade the game rules a bit?" The chief director glanced at her and revealed a smile that clearly wasn't innocent. Meanwhile, at the filming site, Meng Wei was still furious after what I'd said. After taking a while to calm down, she suddenly thought of something important. She went to the 3rd floor and knocked on Ji Mingchuan's door.
He opened it with an easygoing smile. "What's up?"
Meng Wei said, "The production team wouldn't let us bring our own daily necessities, and they didn't prepare any for us either."
Looks like they did it on purpose to make things hard for us.
"But we can't live without basic supplies. How about we go buy some essentials together?" "Sure." Meng Wei's eyes shifted slightly. "I have an idea. I'll buy something for washing my face.
You buy toothpaste, okay?
Then we can swap and use each other's things. It'll definitely last a month.
That way, both of us can save a bit of money.
Sounds good. I'll go call Anlan too.
Let's all go together. The two of them went down to the second floor.
Anlan was probably taking a nap because it took quite a while before she opened the door.
Her expression looked drained, with no real energy in it.
There was even a trace of irritation between her brows, like someone with serious post-nap temper. What is it?
Ji Ming-chuan said, "We're going to buy daily necessities together."
Do you want to come? Anlan let her gaze pass over Ji Ming-chuan and Meng Wei, then refused. No, you go ahead. She closed the door. Meng Wei thought for a moment, and then added, since she's not going, go call Fu Yanxing too.
If more people come, then each of us can buy different things, and there'll be more items to swap.
We can save quite a bit. So Ji Ming-chuan turned around and came back to the third floor to knock on my door. Right when he knocked, I was just about to head out. I opened the door, looked at Ji Ming-chuan, then at Meng Wei standing behind him, and pressed my lips together. My instincts told me immediately that Meng Wei was definitely scheming something shameless again. Ji Ming-chuan smiled. Yansheng, let's go buy some daily necessities together. Then we can each buy different items and swap them around.
That'll save us a lot of money. I admitted it. The exchange method really was practical.
But I also saw the problem instantly. Swapping things is a good idea. But what happens later if something unpleasant happens in the competition between us? After saying that, I looked at Ji Ming-chuan. It was a small reminder, nothing more. Whether he accepted it or not was none of my business. My good intentions only went as far as pointing something out. After that, I respected other people's decisions. Meng Wei gritted her teeth in frustration. Ji Ming-chuan had just started to open his mouth to persuade me again. But before he could speak, Meng Wei dragged him away. If he won't come, forget it.
Let's go call that guest who still hasn't gotten up yet. So the two of them went to the second floor and knocked on the innermost room. After a very long time, a weak female voice came through the door, but the door itself still didn't open.
Meng Wei frowned. It's me, Meng Wei. I came to ask if you want to go buy daily necessities together. A few seconds later,
the person inside answered simply, no. After getting rejected yet again,
Meng Wei and Ji Ming-chuan both fell silent for a moment. It sounded like the woman inside was half dead. Her voice gave off that exact feeling, like she could collapse any second.
Ji Ming-chuan originally wanted to agree with that thought, but then he remembered that he was aiming to become an entertainer, so he needed to watch his words and behavior in advance. If black fans ever dug up his dark history later, it would be trouble.
By pure coincidence, the supermarket Ji Ming-chuan and Meng Wei went to was the same one I went to. The moment Meng Wei saw me, her face turned sour like I owed her money.
Ji Ming-chuan, on the other hand, felt pretty good. In fact, he was secretly happy, because it gave him a chance to bring up the idea of exchanging daily necessities with me again.
He invited me first. Let's go to the daily necessities section together. I shook my head. No, I'm going to have some afternoon tea first. Meng Wei's face twisted a little from the sheer irritation. Having money really is different, huh?
Let's go.
Don't delay him from having his afternoon tea. At this point, she obviously wasn't expecting a guy who would even charge for 2 eggs to treat anyone to afternoon tea. The two of them went to the daily necessities section, while the viewers who had originally been cursing me for being stupid suddenly had their brains short-circuit after seeing what I did next. They watched me walk calmly and directly toward the pastry section with a clear goal in mind. In the middle of that section was a white tasting tray. I picked up a toothpick, stabbed a few pieces of mini cake, and ate them. Right after that, I moved to the fruit tasting area. And in the next moment, I even hit the cooked food tasting section too. I didn't let a single sample station escape me.
The viewers were stunned. My God.
I never imagined afternoon tea could be eaten like this. Fu Yanxing has seriously broadened my horizons. Yep, still the same stingy freebie monster. Low-level business, freeloading food. High-level business, having afternoon tea. Noted. I wonder if Meng Wei and Ji Ming-chuan will show up later for afternoon tea too. Meanwhile, in the daily necessities section, Meng Wei's so-called face-washing item turned out to be a bar of soap worth yinwi. Sete goeth, Neskias Raoryuan. It was the cheapest soap in the entire supermarket. Ji Ming-chuan hesitated and said, I use facial cleanser to wash my face. Meng Wei dropped the soap into the cart and earnestly tried to persuade him. What cleanser? Look at our financial situation right now. And this soap can wash your face and your body too.
That even saves the cost of body wash.
How practical is that? Besides, if we buy cleanser now, viewers will definitely call us stupid. We're on a money-saving variety show.
This show is about saving money, not about competing over beauty. Ji Ming-chuan awkwardly gave in.
But when it came time to buy toothpaste, Meng Wei took her time choosing and finally picked one that cost more than 30 yuan.
Ji Ming-chuan thought it was a bit expensive, but Meng Wei said, "We need to buy better toothpaste.
Otherwise, we're going to live stream for the next month with huge yellow teeth." Once again, Ji Ming-chuan got talked into it. Then Meng Wei smiled and said, "Look, this soap can also be used for bathing, so I'm already saving the cost of body wash.
One product, two uses.
Shouldn't you buy one more thing too? That way, our exchange will be fair." At that moment, Ji Ming-chuan suddenly felt that the more he thought about it, the more something seemed off. But he was too embarrassed to tear the mask off completely. "If you think it's unfair, then I can just buy another bar of soap myself, and we don't need to exchange at all." It was only soap.
It wasn't like he couldn't afford it. Meng Wei's smile froze.
How had this man suddenly become so much harder to fool? She quickly said, "I was just joking." "Just joking?" Ji Ming-chuan smiled and didn't push the issue any further. Otherwise, viewers might start saying he was as stingy as me. On my side, after I had eaten more or less enough, I slowly wandered over to the daily necessities section. And by coincidence, I ran into Ji Ming-chuan and Meng Wei again. They had already finished buying their supplies, and now Ji Ming-chuan was preparing to head to the skincare section. The moment he saw me, he smiled and said, "Let's go buy skincare together. Then we can swap and use it. Otherwise, the cost is too high."
"I know you have more money, but in our current situation, saving a little is still saving." I answered plainly. "I don't use skincare products."
"So there's no need for us to exchange." Ji Ming-chuan didn't force the issue this time, though inwardly he quietly thought that I really was not an easy person to get along with. I walked straight to the section with the daily necessities I actually wanted, then looked at products while searching on several apps on my phone. I was comparing prices, checking which platform offered the best deal before deciding where to buy. In the end, I placed an order through one of the more cost-effective apps because I had a platform coupon that instantly cut 10 yuan off the total.
The viewers immediately understood me on a spiritual level.
Fu Yansheng is seriously thrifty. He's comparing prices across platforms just to buy one thing. Fu Yansheng is literally me. This is exactly how I buy stuff. And in the end,
I walked out of the supermarket empty-handed.
The app had a delivery runner service, and all the things I bought were sent directly to the dorm entrance. That night, I went back to Fuxiu and Hot Pot Barbecue again.
A free meal voucher is meant to be used as quickly as possible.
If I waited too long and something went wrong, wouldn't my meal ticket be wasted for nothing? But this time, right at the entrance of Fuxiu and Hot Pot Barbecue, I unexpectedly ran into Anlan, Meng Wei, and Ji Ming-chuan. I wasn't surprised at all. I simply nodded at them as a greeting and walked inside to enjoy my free dinner.
But the other three weren't nearly as lucky. The restaurant's free event had suddenly been cancelled.
And when Meng Wei looked at the front of the restaurant, she looked like she was about to split apart on the spot.
Because this was her father's newly opened restaurant. There she was, standing right outside her own family store, trying to freeload dinner, only to be blocked at the entrance by her own staff. Honestly, what kind of ridiculous situation was that?
And the worst part was this. I had even reported her family's restaurant. The 500 yuan compensation and the 10 free meals I had gotten all came out of her dad's pocket. And right at that very moment, I was sitting inside her own family's restaurant, eating delicious hot pot for free, while she could only stand outside,
staring through that giant glass window with her own eyes.
No wonder her face looked terrible. Everyone else simply assumed Meng Wei was upset because she couldn't freeload barbecue, so nobody paid too much attention. Ji Ming-chuan asked curiously, "What a coincidence. Why did the event end right after Fu Yansheng got to eat for free?" What he really wanted to say was whether I had some special connection with the restaurant owner and was using that to cheat my way into winning. He just didn't have the nerve to say it outright. But everyone present could understand what he meant. And that was when Meng Wei, who had been opposing me the whole time, suddenly spoke up. "Fu Yansheng has no relationship with this restaurant owner." And Lan raised an eyebrow and turned to look at Meng Wei, clearly surprised to see her suddenly defending me. "How do you know?"
"Well, if it was your own family store, Of course you'd know whether there was any relationship or not. The reason Meng Wei clarified things for me wasn't because she was being kind.
It was because she didn't want people paying too much attention to her family's restaurant. So she touched her brow and said, "Judging from how stingy Fu Yansheng is, his living conditions must usually be very difficult. There's no way he could know some boss." In the end, it was the server who cleared things up for them.
We don't know what happened this afternoon, but a huge wave of customers suddenly came in. Our boss really couldn't handle it anymore, so he had no choice but to cancel the event early.
If they were all paying customers, that'd be one thing. But the problem is they were all here for free. If this kept going, this new store really wouldn't be able to bear it, whether in terms of cost or staff workload. And as for why such a huge wave of customers had suddenly poured in, that naturally had everything to do with my live stream. At noon, when I came for the free lunch, there had barely been any tables occupied. But after my popularity surged in the afternoon, Boss Meng couldn't withstand the pressure and had no choice but to cancel the free event. Some customers who only wanted to freeload grumbled and slowly left, but there were still plenty of people who entered and paid to eat. Boss Meng's originally miserable face instantly lit up with joy. Aside from the fact that the table I was sitting at looked a little annoying to him, the overall situation was actually pretty good.
But in the very next second, he suddenly saw a figure outside the door that was more familiar than familiar. Wasn't that his own daughter standing outside? Meng Wei also saw Old Meng. He was already smiling as he walked toward her.
She instantly began frantically signaling him with her eyes, telling him to pretend he didn't know her. Old Meng looked confused, but he still cooperated. Since there was no way to get a free dinner, Anlan and Jiming Chuan could only leave disappointed. At that point, Meng Wei used going to the restroom as an excuse to enter the restaurant, and she shot Old Meng another meaningful look.
Once inside, she took off the hidden recording equipment she had been carrying and turned it off.
Old Meng followed her in and asked, "What's wrong with you? Why are you acting so weird? Were those two people standing beside you just now your friends? Why didn't you invite them in for dinner?"
They could have taken a look at our new restaurant too. Meng Wei glanced outside, made sure no one was coming over, and then explained in a lowered voice, "I joined a variety show.
It's being live streamed right now, so it's not convenient." What I learned afterward was that the moment Meng Wei went inside,
Old Meng looked at her and said, "So you and that brat outside who reported me are competitors on the same show?"
And Meng Wei answered, "Yes." Then she admitted something else too. "Actually, when I came over just now, I was thinking maybe I could find something non-compliant here, report it too, copy Fu Yansheng's move, and scam another 20 free meals out of it. But then I realized this is our own family's restaurant." The second Old Meng heard that. He suddenly thought of something and frowned. "So, I thought you and those two other guests outside were all trying to use the free meal event to copy Fu Yansheng and report me too." Meng Wei nodded honestly. Old Meng clutched his chest like his perfectly healthy heart had just developed a new disease on the spot.
Seriously, was everyone in the world targeting him like he was a single sheep made to be stripped bare?
Then Meng Wei looked at him with pleading eyes. "Dad, the show doesn't allow acquaintances to treat contestants. So tomorrow, can you arrange another day of free activity? I want to eat barbecue too. If I come through the event, it won't count as breaking the rules. I wasn't even that hungry back at the dorm, but once I got here and smelled all this, I seriously couldn't take it anymore." She swallowed and added, "And it'll save me the cost of one meal too. If I win, there's a 5,000 yuan prize. And who knows, maybe I'll even sign with an entertainment company and become a big star." Looking at the current customer flow, Old Meng knew another free event would burn through even more cost. But then he thought of his daughter, gritted his teeth, and finally said, "Fine, tomorrow I'll arrange another day of free activity." After they settled that, Meng Wei was about to leave, but then she suddenly smiled again.
"Oh right, Dad. Can you think of a way to make Fu Yansheng break the rules and get kicked off the show?"
"Because of the compensation you gave him, the money gap between him and me in this competition is huge now. It's way too hard to beat him. If he violates the rules, he'll be removed from the show. But you can't contact him openly, because everything's being live streamed." Old Meng answered immediately, "That's easy enough."
"Every person who joins our free activity has to register as a member and leave contact information. I'll just go save Fu Yansheng's contact info to my phone later, then tempt him hard and report him." As Meng Wei walked out of the restaurant, her eyes turned icy.
She stared at me for a long time through the glass while I sat there eating sliced lamb, and only then did she leave. Honestly, judging by that stare, viewers were saying she looked less like she wanted barbecue and more like she wanted to throw me into the boiling pot and cook me instead. And since Mengwei had walked all the way there from the dorm to save money, she ended up having to walk all the way back too, without eating a single thing. Halfway back, she was starving and thirsty. When she passed a small restaurant, she stopped. To be fair, it wasn't really her fault.
The smell of food drifting out of that little place was way too tempting. After hesitating again and again, she finally went inside and ordered a plate of fried rice and a bottle of soda. The viewers were speechless. She wouldn't spend 2 yuan on bus fare, but on the walk home she spent 12 yuan on egg fried rice and soda. Wasn't that just losing money in a different form? Yeah, that was basically the legendary ineffective saving. On my side, after I finished eating, I walked back to the dorm. I didn't run into anyone else on the way, but honestly, whatever they were out doing didn't matter much.
By tomorrow, I could track all of their latest movements through my phone anyway, and use that to judge whether my ranking was under threat. Thinking that way, I went straight back to my room to rest. If I wanted to face tomorrow's money-saving battle in the best possible condition, I needed to recharge first. Before going to sleep, I picked up my phone and searched through all kinds of apps and the official websites of major brands. About half an hour later, I smiled in satisfaction. At the same time, the staff calculated the remaining assets of all 5 guests and posted them on the public screen. Money-saving battle. First place, Fu Yansheng balance, 984 yuan. Second place, Feng Yue balance, 500 yuan.
Third place, Anlan balance with 48 yuan.
Fourth place, Mengwei balance, 485.5 yuan. Fifth place, Jiming Chuan balance, 264 yuan. What I also learned later was that somewhere inside an upscale clubhouse, Shen Yiming was sitting on a sofa, lowering his eyes to his phone. Around him sat several wealthy young women from elite circles. On his screen was a text message he had sent out a week earlier, one that had never received a reply. Then 2 texts from an unfamiliar number suddenly came in. I'm Old Meng from Fuxiwan. I think your image and temperament are very good. So I suddenly thought of a great business opportunity that could benefit both of us.
Are you interested?
I'll provide the money, you provide the effort. Gunanzi, who was sitting nearby, noticed that Shen Yiming had been staring at his phone with a complicated expression. Unable to suppress her curiosity, and clearly wanting a bite of some major gossip, she leaned over to look. What? Has Zhongjing Group already reached the point where President Shen has to personally go out and make money on the side? Shen Yiming turned to glance at her and smiled carelessly.
Tell me, if I mentioned to Uncle Gu that the precious porcelain vase in his study was actually switched out more than 10 years ago,
and that the one sitting in the cabinet all these years is a fake, would he help me out as a reward for warning him early?
Then maybe I wouldn't need to go make money on the side after all. Gunanzi felt like she'd just been threatened with surgical precision. A chill went straight down her spine.
She forced out a smile uglier than crying. Come on, we're like sisters here. Don't do this. If you've got a problem, just say it.
Big Sis Gu will help you.
No need to alarm the old man. Shen Yiming lazily added, I just remembered that Aunt Gu's treasured bottle of red wine seems to have been replaced long ago, too. Gunanzi gave up on pride immediately.
Fine, my dear sister, all right?
You really never take a loss, do you? Then, after complaining inwardly, she got serious.
But honestly, are you really in trouble?
Shen Yiming replied, The other side sent it to the wrong person. Meanwhile, Old Meng was worried that calling me directly would be inconvenient while I was filming, so he sent a text instead. But as he sat on the toilet, staring at the message that still hadn't gotten a reply, his brows tightened. It looked like I was more cautious than he expected.
If he wanted to lure me in, he'd have to push harder.
The next morning, the live stream screen displayed the results of yesterday's popularity vote. Money-saving battle popularity ranking. First place, Fu Yansheng.
Second place, An Lan. Third place, Feng Yue. Fourth place, Jiming Chuan.
Fifth place, Meng Wei. The barrage exploded instantly.
No way, Fu Yansheng is first? Did he buy bots or something? Are these numbers even real?
But just as many people thought it made sense.
Not really surprising. So far, the people who made the deepest impression are him and Meng Wei.
And I seriously didn't want to vote for Meng Wei. That girl feels way too sneaky. If Jiming Chuan weren't so overly nice, I might have voted for him, because his face is exactly my type. I get everyone else. But how is Feng Yue in third? He hasn't even shown his face. That's exactly why. He's too mysterious. I'm curious about him, so I voted for him. The internet had every kind of reaction imaginable, and all the contestants saw the popularity ranking online too. In my room on the innermost side of the third floor, I finished a simple wash, went downstairs, and fried 2 eggs in the kitchen. At noon, I headed back to Fuxiwan Hot Pot Barbecue for lunch. There were fewer people in the restaurant than yesterday, probably because Boss Meng had cancelled the event midway through the previous day. But I noticed the Guess the 3 Characters to Eat Free event poster had been put up again at the entrance. Not long after I arrived, Meng Wei came too. Only this time, she got stopped at the door again because she couldn't solve the riddle. Imagine wanting barbecue and still having to pass an intelligence test first.
In her heart, she was probably cursing old Meng non-stop, wondering why he couldn't at least make the question easier. Or better yet, secretly hand her a cheat sheet with the answer. After all that inner screaming, she could only stand outside with a dark face for nearly an hour. By the time I finished eating and came back out, she still hadn't stepped through the door once. Yeah, that was awkward. Apparently, even the back door wasn't that easy to use. And just like that, for the second time, she stood outside her own family's restaurant and still failed to get inside for a meal. That kind of humiliation could make anyone want to go full villain mode. The even stranger part came later. When the next day's balance sheet was released, nobody's assets had changed at all. I had eggs plus free meal vouchers. And Lan had her own instant noodles. Ji Mingchuan did too. Meng Wei, of course, had shamelessly freeloaded Ji Mingchuan's noodles again. And as for the mysterious contestant Feng Yue, he still hadn't shown his face, and still hadn't spent a single cent, maintaining exactly the same mystery as the previous day. Compared to the ordinary money-saving routines of the first 4 contestants, Feng Yue's unusual silence immediately captured the viewer's attention.
People are always drawn to the unknown.
The more mysterious someone is, the more imagination and expectation gathers around them.
So, by the 3rd day of live streaming, Feng Yue's popularity shot straight up to 2nd place, and even started showing signs of overtaking me. It wasn't just the viewers who were curious. I was too. The fact that he still hadn't appeared, and still hadn't spent a single cent, meant he either had absurd self-control, or he was some deeply calculating master of frugality hiding his real moves. Quiet people like that are usually the chosen ones.
Or they're secretly preparing some giant play to catch everyone else off guard later.
I couldn't help feeling a bit of pressure. But then, late at night, just when everyone's curiosity about Feng Yue was reaching its peak, I suddenly heard a siren outside the dorm. It sounded like a 120 ambulance, and it was getting closer. Then I heard panicked footsteps downstairs.
I changed clothes immediately and rushed down.
What I saw was emergency personnel carrying a stretcher out from the 2nd floor.
On that stretcher lay a tall, slim girl, and the innermost room on the 2nd floor. That was Feng Yue's room. My heart jumped.
I quickly grabbed Lan, who was still in her pajamas, and asked, "What happened?"
Lan rubbed her temples and answered helplessly.
"That woman starved herself for 3 days and 9 meals and passed out." Apparently, Lan had gotten curious about why Feng Yue hadn't made a single move in 3 days, so she went to knock on the door. After getting no response for a long time, she worried something was wrong, forced the door open, and found Feng Yue unconscious inside. Then she immediately called 120.
So much for my theory about a hidden genius and a deep strategist. I instantly withdrew all of it.
The emergency staff loaded Feng Yue into the ambulance, then turned and asked the other 4 of us, "Which one of you is going to the hospital with her?"
And just like that, the key condition came out. Whoever went along would have to pay the medical fees.
When the ambulance first arrived, it was obvious everyone was worried about Feng Yue. But the moment money came into it, everyone just looked at each other and went silent.
Meng Wei turned to the assistant director behind the cameras and said, "Shouldn't the production team be responsible for this? If something happens during the show, shouldn't you handle it?"
The assistant director frowned. "We signed an agreement before filming started. Any problem caused by personal
reasons during the show is the contestant's own responsibility. What nobody else knew was that the assistant director had actually
stopped the emergency staff before they came in and specifically asked them to pose that question on purpose.
In reality, no matter whether any of us went or not, Feng Yue would still be taken to the hospital.
But the instant his sentence ended, I turned around and ran upstairs without saying a word.
The viewers exploded.
3 contestants chose to go, and the other one chose. So Fu Yansheng ran because he was afraid that if he accompanied Feng Yue to the hospital, he'd have to pay. Of course, in front of money, people always show their ugliest side. Fu Yansheng really disappointed me. I'm never giving him another popularity vote. If he ever appears in another show, I won't watch it. If I ever enter his live stream again, I'm a dog. Downstairs, Anlan and Mengwei remained motionless and silent.
Ji Mingchuan actually wanted to go, but he only had a little over 200 yuan on him, which wasn't enough.
So he turned to the other 2 and said, if Fu Yansheng isn't going, then how about the 3 of us pool our money and send Feng Yue to the hospital first?
Mengwei glanced at him, her teeth grinding with irritation. If he wanted to play saint, fine, but why drag her down with him?
Anlan, unlike Mengwei, didn't show a big reaction.
She stayed silent and expressionless, continuing to maintain the low-presence side character image she had held for the past 3 days.
Ji Mingchuan frowned. This is about a human life. Can money really be more important than someone's life? But the funny part was that, while saying all that, he was secretly pleased with himself. In a competition built around a prize, what were the odds that the contestants would actually nobly sacrifice their own chances for someone else? Their coldness would only make his kindness look brighter. In his mind, tonight's popularity ranking was already moving him from 4th place to 1st. So, as if he really couldn't stand it anymore, he continued in a tone full of accusation. You 2 aren't going to be like Fu Yansheng too, are you? Like me?
I cut in from behind him.
And here you are talking about me behind my back again. Ji Mingchuan froze and turned around. I had just come back down from upstairs, still not even breathing evenly yet. I had no time to waste on him. I went straight past and got into the ambulance with the emergency staff. The 3 people left behind stared after me, completely stunned.
Why did Fu Yansheng come back?
What did he go upstairs for?
Did he run back to his room to get money?
If that's true, then what I just said online, please don't let me get slapped in the face that fast. Progress update, part 3 translation. 52% complete.
40 pesos remaining. Timestamp, 36:42. At a Jiang City Hospital.
I paid the bill, folded the payment receipt neatly,
tucked it into my pocket, and sat down on a stool beside Feng Yue's hospital bed to wait for her to wake up. Luckily, we had arrived in time, so it wasn't anything serious. She only needed a glucose drip.
About half an hour later, there was movement on the bed. I looked at her heavy eyelids and heard her exhausted, hoarse voice. You're awake? How do you feel? I asked.
Feng Yue turned toward me and answered weakly, I'm okay.
Thank you for bringing me to the hospital. I said, don't thank me. Anlan was the one who found you passed out from hunger and called the ambulance.
Wante brought you here.
I just fronted the medical bill for you. Once I saw she was genuinely all right, I calmly took the payment receipt from my pocket. Remember to reimburse me for the medical fees. Then I paused, looked at her with sincere admiration, and added, to save the cost of 3 days' worth of meals, you skipped 9 meals and passed out. And in the end, the ambulance and medical bill cost 250 yuan total. That's impressive. I put the receipt into her hand and let out a faint sigh.
The prize money matters, sure, but your health matters more.
Otherwise, what's the point of winning the money if you end up taking loans to treat yourself afterward?
That's not worth it at all. Suddenly, Feng Yue's eyes turned red. To me, she looked like she was about to cry herself to sleep.
I couldn't help thinking, what kind of girl has such a low emotional threshold? I wasn't exactly experienced at comforting people, especially fragile girls like this. She sniffed and said, I didn't expect that after living for 20 years, the person who actually cares about my health would be a stranger like you. I looked at her with a complicated expression.
Then she confessed, to be honest,
they forced me onto this show.
Not for the prize.
They just think I spend too much money at home. The second I heard that, I thought, so it's a family issue.
Poor kid. I genuinely felt a trace of sympathy and pity.
So I quickly tried to comfort her. It's normal for children to spend money at home. The moment she found someone who seemed to be on the same wavelength, Feng Yue nodded rapidly.
Exactly.
I only spend a few million a day topping up games, that's all. And sometimes I go clubbing, buy cars, limited edition sneakers, maybe spend a few tens of millions here and there. But they still say I'm too extravagant. So they forced me to come on this show. and experience what it's like to live on a 500 yuan for a month. They don't care whether I'm doing well or whether I'm happy.
My smile froze instantly. A few million? A few tens of millions?
What a painfully niche spending range. It took me more than 10 seconds to process what I just heard. So, Miss Feng hadn't descended into hardship for a survival show. She had lowered herself to join a human transformation experiment. She wasn't lacking family affection. What she lacked was a proper beating from society. At that point, I realized the person I shouldn't have empathized with
Was a princess.
and the real clown who got emotionally injured here was me. I was the one who needed comfort. How was a man who hesitated over spending a few hundred supposed to sincerely sympathize with a girl who spent millions without blinking? I couldn't sympathize even a little.
And just when I was still being mentally frozen in place by that revelation, Feng Yue suddenly spoke again, sounding a little embarrassed. So, brother, since my situation is this tragic, can you give me a discount on the medical bill? There it was.
The truth. This 5,000 or 1,000 yuan prize is really important to me. It will decide my future position in the online gaming world. So all that emotional confession from earlier had just been bait. She wanted to stir up my sympathy, dodge the debt, and keep more money to win the grand prize. That was the real goal.
I narrowed my eyes.
I can give you a broken bone discount.
Want that? She blinked.
Brother, even half price is fine. I stared at her. So I speak to you from the heart, and you play mind games with me?
Do you know what happened to the last person who tried to scam money off me?
Of course she knew. She had already seen it online. Wasn't it just that tiny barbecue shop owner who ended up compensating me with 500 yuan and 10 free meals?
Even though her family restricted her spending pretty tightly, Feng Yue clearly had her own alternative method to compensate me.
So she immediately said, "If you help me this once, after the show ends, I'll introduce you to my aunt.
She's rich and she's really beautiful." Then she repeated it like she was unveiling a divine treasure.
She's rich and really, really beautiful. I could practically see her logic. Maybe she wasn't financially free right now, but if she introduced me to someone who was, then that would count as compensating me. If I became financially free through her aunt, then naturally I'd be grateful to her as the matchmaker. And if that happened, she'd never have to worry about her family cutting her allowance again, because she could just collude with her future little uncle-in-law, meaning me. Her internal swanpan was clicking away so loudly I could almost hear it. But I remained unmoved and looked at her with open disgust. I don't like women who already have nieces. She immediately changed tactics. Then wait until I inherit the family business, and I'll compensate you then. You might have to wait a while though, because the old man in my family is still very healthy.
But once I inherit everything, I can buy you whatever you want. Forget Fieke, Wosilaun.
Even 50 takuren wouldn't be a problem. I glanced at her and said, "Your family does pancake business, right? Because you're drawing big cakes professionally." Then I stood up, walked to her bedside, and smiled at her. Not 1 cent less on the medical bill. And if you want to repay kindness with betrayal, I don't mind keeping you in this hospital a few extra days. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't use any particular emotion. My words weren't even heavy. And yet, for some reason, Feng Yue's back went cold. She looked at me from this close distance, and probably noticed that I didn't look worse than those 360-degree flawless male game characters she liked. She blinked, then turned her head away to avoid my gaze. "Got it. The money's in my room."
Once I go back, I'll pay you. I nodded, satisfied.
Don't get clever with me.
I only want money. The viewers absolutely lost it.
Why does that line sound like a kidnapper? I was expecting his next sentence to be, "No money means I tear up the hostage." This guy really is locked on target. Nothing gets through unless it's money. Feng Yue is hilarious.
For the sake of 1,000, she just tried to sell off her own aunt. And in the end,
the stingiest one, Fu Yansheng, was the one who paid her medical fees. A rich and beautiful aunt. All right, everyone pause work. Let me be the uncle-in-law. After the drip finished, I didn't take Feng Yue straight back to the dorm. Instead, I brought her to a nearby porridge shop. While standing at the counter, I noticed another customer swiping a membership card. So I asked, "Miss, what promotions do you have for members?" The clerk replied, "If you sign up as a member, you get a 10 yuan late night voucher.
But it can only be used after midnight." I checked the time on my phone.
It had just passed when
I thought my luck was pretty decent.
How do I sign up? Recharge 100 yuan. The second I heard that, my interest dropped sharply.
If membership were free, that'd be one thing.
But recharge first? No thanks. The only reason I had brought Feng Yue here was because in her current state, she needed something healthy and nutritious. Otherwise, with my current financial situation, there was no way I'd be spending money on food like this that wasn't even that filling. In the end, I ordered 1 bowl of porridge and 1 bowl of steamed egg custard. After we finished eating, we returned to the dorm. Feng Yue repaid me every last cent of the hospital fee and the porridge money without missing a single coin. Once I got back to my room, I neatly folded the 500 yuan again and put it back into my bag. The next morning, when I boiled eggs, I boiled 2 extra ones for Feng Wei since she was still recovering. After all, the night before, when we had eaten the egg custard, that young lady had at least shown some conscience, and Judong offered me half of it. Of course, I wasn't shameless enough to fight a patient for food. But just because of those 2 boiled eggs, that little princess was so moved she nearly fell apart.
She said that in this show, aside from Anlan, I was the one who treated her best.
And if I hadn't cut her off in time, I had a strong feeling she was about to start talking about repaying me with her body. So I finished breakfast and headed out. Feng Yube washed her face quickly and silently followed behind me.
Not for any deep reason, of course.
She just believed that if she followed me, she'd definitely be able to freeload some food sooner or later. Before I got far, a young man in a mascot suit stopped me. "Brother, do you have a minute? Fill out a form, and you can get a free bottle of mineral water." I lifted the corner of my mouth.
I do. I took the form from him and gave it a rough glance. It looked like one of those survey forms for some product promotion. Just as I was about to fill it out, Feng Yue's voice came from behind me.
"I suggest you don't. Filling out this kind of thing can easily expose your personal privacy. You'll get a lot of junk texts and spam calls too, because after they collect your information and finish using it, they sell it." I laughed softly.
It's fine. What she said was correct, and I understood all of it.
But the key problem was this. I wasn't writing down my own information anyway.
I was writing the scammer's information.
So what exactly did I have to worry about? In fact, the phone number I had left at the pharmacy and the barbecue restaurant before this was also the number of a scammer.
A week earlier, my anti-fraud app had intercepted a text from an unknown number.
The message claimed that Zhongjing Group was offering a high-paying position for a personal assistant to the CEO, with easy work, no academic requirement, long-term overseas travel adaptability, and so on. It even said that if I was interested, I could reply. Zhongjing Group was a famous major company in Huaguo. My college classmates were desperate to get in. One of my classmates had just graduated and joined Zhongjing Group as an outsourced worker. And even that was enough for him to brag in the group chat for half the day. At first I thought maybe the anti-fraud app had made a mistake, so I deliberately went online and found Zhongjing Group's HR phone number. I called them directly. HR told me they weren't hiring for that position at all, and the phone number in the text definitely did not belong to their personnel department. They even kindly reminded me that many criminals now impersonate companies or platform staff to commit fraud, and told me to watch out carefully. Even though I hadn't expected much, I still felt just a tiny bit disappointed.
The viewers were panicking too.
Feng Wei is right. Never fill in your phone number and personal information.
Casually, it's way too easy to leak your
privacy. Fu Yansheng's
awareness is way too weak. She warned him so, clearly, and he still said it's fine. Just download an anti-fraud app.
They're really useful. You still can't rely entirely on apps though. Smart screening can miss things sometimes. Some scammers are really advanced.
People still need to improve their own anti-fraud awareness. By then, Feng Yue and I had already walked for a while, and she was getting thirsty too.
She had originally wanted to keep arguing with me, but the second she saw those rows of bottled water, she glanced at the guy in the mascot suit, cleared her throat, and said, give me one of those forms too. After handing her the form, the mascot suit guy casually asked me, "Are you two a couple?"
Feng Yue's hand froze while writing her name. A girl who had never dated before, being teased like that by a stranger, turned red almost instantly.
I answered without changing expression. No. Back at the dorm, my unexpected move last night had kept the other 3 contestants awake. Ji Mingchuan had never imagined that the storyline he'd carefully planned out would end up serving as a setup for me instead. By the 4th day of streaming, I was still first in popularity, while Anlan and Meng Wei were getting roasted pretty badly online. and Lan herself didn't seem too affected. But the clip where she'd mocked me behind my back kept getting pulled out by viewers and replayed as a classic face-slapping moment. Manhwa couldn't understand it either. In her eyes, what I did last night was basically like walking up and smacking the three of them across the face with a shoe sole. She knew the online comments had probably become completely one-sided by now, and the three of them had been reduced into my evil comparison group. That definitely wasn't good for her, so she decided she needed old Meng to work harder at tempting me into breaking the rules. On my side, after collecting the free mineral water, I wandered around near the city center. But somewhere during that process, Feng Yue, who had been following behind me the whole time, disappeared. I didn't bother looking for her. She was a fully functioning adult with normal thinking. What was going to happen to her? Besides, I had no obligation to babysit someone else. We weren't partners. We were competitors in an individual contest. While passing one storefront, I looked at it for a couple of extra seconds, then took out my phone and recorded something. After that, I went to Fuxiwan Hot Pot Barbecue again. If I ate there 2 more times today, I'd only have 3 free meal vouchers left, which meant I could last until noon the day after tomorrow. By lunchtime on the 6th day of live streaming, my free vouchers were finally used up. Old Meng could finally breathe again, because he no longer had to see me show up in his restaurant. That night, with no vouchers left, I ate my last 3 eggs. At that point, I had officially exhausted my reserves. If I didn't spend money from here on out, I was going to go hungry. At the same time, Anlan had also just finished her instant noodles, and was now facing the serious life decision of which flavor her next box should be. But honestly, after 6 straight days of instant noodles, it probably didn't matter which flavor she picked. She was already sick of all of them. Jiming Chuan's first batch of noodles had long since been freeloaded away by Meng Wei, so he had already bought another box and still had some left. And as for Feng Yue, aside from staying in her room and not coming out, she would sometimes follow me to the supermarket and freeload some afternoon tea samples. At first, she was awkward about it, glancing left and right like a thief. Later on, though, she got used to the scene. When the production team publicly released the balance rankings that night, I was still firmly sitting in first place as the money-saving king. On the morning of the 7th day of live streaming, the production team gathered all 5 of us in the first floor hall. Host Zhao Lin smiled in a way that instantly made my instincts ring alarm bells. Today, we will welcome 5 heavyweight gold tier sponsors. And these 5 sponsors will spend 1 full day experiencing money-saving life together with you 5 contestants. Meng Wei immediately raised her hand and asked, I want to ask, when they spend the day with us, will they be bringing their own money? Zhao Lin's smile deepened. Excellent question. According to the program rules, these 5 sponsors are not allowed to carry even 1 cent on them. So all of their expenses today will be paid by you. Every single one of us froze. What? Our days were already hard enough, and now 5 extra mouths had been added on top of that. And the worst part? These were 5 mouths we absolutely could not afford to offend. The despair hit all at once. Even the viewers started protesting on our behalf. The moment the rules were announced, even the viewers couldn't hold it in anymore. So now they have to support 5 extra mouths? They can barely afford to feed themselves, and now you're adding 5 more? Are you trying to kill them? I knew that, for 1,000 yuan, wouldn't be that easy to win. Some people were already guessing what I'd do next. I'm more curious whether Fu Yansheng will be stingy enough to drag the sponsors along to freeload food. Others immediately pushed back. Probably not. These are big shot sponsors. You can't afford to offend them. Exactly. You have to serve them properly. If a sponsor gets unhappy and pulls out, they could get kicked off the show and lose any chance at the prize. This whole sponsors join, contestants to experience saving money thing was clearly Director Fu's newest upgrade to the game, throwing in new difficulties at random to keep the show interesting. Zhao Lin looked at our clearly defeated expressions and waved her hand with a smile. Cheer up. This is live. The sponsors can see you. And in other variety shows, many guests beg for a chance to get close to sponsors and never get it. You should feel honored. Meng Wei forced a smile. That's other shows. This one is not the same. Zhao Lin raised an eyebrow. How is it different? Some shows don't even give a single cent of living expenses. The guests have to survive entirely on their own. Meng Wei immediately shot back. We'd love to rely on ourselves too, but your rules say we can't exchange labor for money. That counts as a violation. Zhao Lin swept her gaze across all 5 of us. Exactly.
That's why you need to rely on your unique money-saving strategies to win.
The opportunity to win the prize is already given to you.
Whether you can win and how, you'll have to figure out yourselves. Right now, the one with the least money was Jiming Chuan. He only had 20 yuan left. But since he had to host a sponsor today, he clearly wanted to perform well. That's when I finally spoke.
So today, are we all hosting sponsors together? Xiaolin shook her head.
Of course not.
You'll complete a task first. Then, based on ranking, you'll each choose one sponsor for one-on-one hosting.
That way, everyone spends their own money.
It's fair. The viewers instantly started speculating. Won't all the sponsors want to pick Fu Yansheng? Obviously, everyone's finances are transparent. Who wouldn't want to follow the richest guy? Yeah, Fu Yansheng is basically the rich man of this show right now. But someone else pointed out the obvious flaw. That only works if he's willing to spend money. With how stingy he is,
I'm not so sure. Xiaolin pointed toward the door.
The task is simple. Whoever grabs the card from the staff member first gets to choose first. We all looked in the direction she pointed. About 100 meters away, a staff member was standing there holding the card.
So this was basically a 100-meter sprint.
If there are no questions, we'll begin now. The moment she finished speaking, Ji Mingchuan exploded forward like a bullet.
The rest of us?
We started walking, slowly. Honestly, was there even a need to compete for this? No matter who you picked, it still meant feeding one extra person.
Why waste energy? Meanwhile, inside a car, the 5 sponsors were watching the live stream.
Aside from Ji Mingchuan, no one else is even trying to compete for us. Even if you don't want to compete, at least pretend to run a little. This batch of guests is really hard to deal with. Just as we lazily took a few steps, Xiaolin suddenly remembered something. Oh right, top 3 will receive sponsored hosting funds from the program. The moment those words landed, everything changed.
Before anyone could even ask how much money it was, the live stream captured a shocking scene.
Whoosh, 4 blurred figures shot forward like rockets.
I'm dying. Money really makes them move.
1 second ago, why bother? Next second, flames shooting from their shoes. These guys are unbelievable. Ji Mingchuan, who had started first, never expected to be overtaken like that.
He only felt a gust of wind brush past him.
And then he was left behind. In the end, the rankings came out. First place Feng Yue, second place me, third place An Lan, fourth Meng Wei, fifth Ji Mingchuan. Feng Yu took a breath, turned, and walked back with long strides, handing the first place card to Xiaolin. Xiaolin smiled. Now you can choose your sponsor. Excited! But Feng Yue asked something else entirely. Where's the money? How much? Xiaolin sighed, pulled out a bill from her pocket, and handed it over.
Feng Yu looked down at the 5 yuan in her hand and laughed in disbelief.
Who hosts someone with 5 yuan?
Xiaolin smiled.
You don't have to take it. She reached out as if to take it back, but Feng Yue instantly pulled it away. 5 yuan is still money. As second place, I also received 5 yuan.
I stared at it, completely speechless.
At that moment, my face probably had the words, "This program is shameless," written all over it. Meng Wei and Ji Mingchuan, who got nothing, felt their hearts ache a little. Next came sponsor selection, by lottery. We drew in order of ranking.
Ji Mingchuan's mood instantly improved. But when the results were revealed, he nearly lost control from excitement.
He had drawn Nansing Entertainment. He looked like he was about to cry. And me, I drew Zhongjing Group. Inside the sponsor vehicle, Shen Yining watched the result on screen, and a faint smile curved at the corner of her lips.
Meanwhile, the other sponsors looked at her with a hint of sympathy. After the draws were complete, Xiaolin said, "Go get ready.
We'll notify you when the sponsors arrive." The moment she finished, Ji Mingchuan rushed upstairs to renovate himself for the second time. Meng Wei, though reluctant to spend money on someone else, quickly changed her mindset.
For someone from an ordinary nouveau riche background, having the chance to connect with big figures like this was still valuable.
She went back to her room and very seriously washed her hair using her Tuo Yuan soap. Completely different from them, Feng Yue and An Lan went straight back to their rooms
and got back into bed.
No excitement, no preparation, just whoever comes, comes. As for me,
I sat on my bed scrolling through my phone, looking busy. But no one knew what I was actually doing. When the sponsors finally arrived and the staff notified us, Ji Mingchuan rushed downstairs first, eager to make a good impression. 5 stunning women stood in the hall. His eyes locked onto one of them, tall, elegant, radiating authority. Instinctively, he thought, dangerous.
Better stay away.
He even silently prayed she wouldn't be from Nansing Entertainment.
She was too beautiful. If he spent too much time with her, he might lose control and ruin his future.
But before he could finish his thoughts, Zhaolin stepped forward and introduced a middle-aged woman.
This is Vice President Li from Nansing Entertainment. Apparently, the actual boss had planned to come, but changed their mind last minute. Ji Mingchuan was already thrilled inside, but he forced himself to stay composed.
Hello, President Li. She smiled warmly, which immediately eased his tension. Have you had breakfast? He asked. No, the program said you would arrange it. That was his moment.
And then let me take you. Within my ability, order whatever you like. The viewers were already reacting. The program is brutal. Even the sponsors don't get breakfast. Is Ji Mingchuan really going to spend everything? Meanwhile, Meng Wei got Sun from Tiangcheng Insurance.
She greeted him, while Anlan's sponsor, Xiaocheng from Huafu Group, seemed oddly humble. Almost too humble.
Compared to him, Anlan actually looked more like the sponsor. Their interaction styles couldn't have been more different. Nearby, Feng Yue approached Shen Yining. Aunt, she whispered, then quickly added, don't make things difficult for him, and take care of him a bit.
He treated me well. She even warned, don't tell him you're my aunt. Why? Because he doesn't like you. Shen Yining raised a brow slightly. He said he doesn't like women with nieces. After a pause, she replied calmly, then I can become a woman without a niece. And just like that, she casually disowned her. Funges fros.
That hurt.
But before she could recover, Meng Wei suddenly stepped forward.
Hello, I'm Meng Wei. She had already evaluated all the sponsors.
And in her eyes, Shen Yining had the strongest presence. Naturally, she wanted to seize the opportunity. She reached out her hand.
Shen Yining looked at her, but didn't shake it.
Seconds passed.
Then she spoke calmly. I know you. You're the one who wanted eggs but didn't want to buy them. So you tried to freeload from another male guest, right?
Meng Wei's face flushed instantly.
The viewers burst into laughter. She awkwardly withdrew her hand.
You must be mistaken.
Realizing she wasn't welcome, she quickly left with her sponsor.
Outside, she muttered angrily. Just because you have money?
Wait until I do. I'll pay this back double. And Lan, on the other hand, didn't try to flatter anyone. She simply greeted Xiaocheng and brought him upstairs. Watching them, viewers started speculating. Maybe Anlan was the most mysterious one of all. Feng Yu's sponsor, Director Fang from AC Group, acted completely differently.
Let's go eat, she said coldly, already walking away. No eye contact.
No courtesy.
Just command.
Feng Yue frowned.
Spend my money and still act like that? No way.
She turned around and went back upstairs to sleep. Director Fang had to come back and chase her. In the hall, only one sponsor remained, Shen Yining. Standing there alone, she almost looked isolated. Zhaolin quickly said, I'll go call someone. No need. Because at that exact moment, I walked down. I saw her,
walked straight over,
and extended my hand. Hello, Fu Yansheng. She smiled faintly and placed her hand in mine. Shen Yining. Shall we talk upstairs first? Sure, the viewers lost it. That's the Zhongjing boss? No wonder everyone wants to work there. I brought her to my room on the 3rd floor.
No cameras inside. The moment she entered, I turned and shut the door tightly.
She raised an eyebrow slightly, silently asking what I was doing. I leaned against the door.
You really don't have any money on you?
She tilted her head slightly and smiled, then spread her arms.
You can search me. Whatever you find is yours. In that instant, my last bit of hope collapsed.
I had actually been thinking of borrowing some money from the sponsor. Turns out, even sponsors couldn't cheat the system.
I sighed. Never mind.
I trust you. She lowered her hands. If there's nothing else, I'll wait downstairs.
All right. Give me a minute. As she passed me, she suddenly stopped.
Boys should learn to protect themselves. Don't casually let women into your room. Then she left.
I stood there, completely speechless.
3 minutes. That was all.
The viewers were going crazy. What happened in there?
Why did she come out so fast? I thought something big would happen. But no, I had zero interest in shortcuts like that. I changed quickly, went downstairs, and looked at her sitting on the sofa. Have you eaten?
No. Then let's go. She stood up and followed me.
The viewers were already nervous, because anywhere I went required thick skin.
After about 20 minutes of walking, we finally arrived. A newly opened breakfast shop.
On the glass windows were big words. Grand opening. free porridge. I stopped at the entrance, locked eyes with the sign, and smiled. I put on my most harmless, obedient smile and stepped forward. Big sister, I saw the sign outside your shop says free porridge. If customers come in and only drink porridge, wouldn't you lose a lot of money?
The owner sized the two of us up, then waved it off confidently.
What's there to worry about? If we dare to run this promotion, we're not afraid of people eating freely. Eat however you want. I immediately lit up with a bright smile.
You're so generous, big sister.
And you're really beautiful too. That did it. She smiled so wide she could barely close her mouth and enthusiastically led us toward the self-serve dishes. I stopped her politely.
We'll handle it ourselves.
You go ahead and take care of your work. In her mind, I was probably already labeled as a polite, sweet-talking young man.
Once she left, I didn't touch a single dish. Instead, I turned around and went straight to the porridge section, bringing Shen Yining with me. There were at least 6 or 7 kinds of porridge. Vegetable porridge, preserved egg and lean meat porridge, millet porridge, shredded chicken porridge, a full spread.
I turned to her and smiled. President Shen, everything you see here, this is the territory I've conquered for you. Take your pick.
My treat. I gave her full hosting attitude. No doubt about that.
She let out a soft laugh. Vegetable porridge. Got it. I nodded immediately.
Time. 01, a second, a foisson. And just like that, the viewers lost it.
That territory isn't his. It's just because he's broke. If they really sit there and only drink free porridge without ordering anything, I'll feel embarrassed for them. Embarrassed? He has almost 900 plus yuan and still refuses to spend even 1 cent on her. I'm dying. This guy is too stingy. Poor President Shen. I knew it. No matter who it is, even a sponsor, he won't spend money. They weren't wrong. I had already confirmed with the owner earlier. The porridge was free, unlimited refills.
No requirement to order anything else. So yes, we sat there with 2 bowls of porridge and nothing else. Naturally, we drew attention.
People around us kept glancing over.
But honestly, I didn't care.
Free means free.
No rule said I had to spend money.
And if it weren't for the 5,000 yuan prize, I wouldn't want to live like this either. Drinking plain porridge with no side dishes. I took a couple of bites of preserved egg porridge, then looked up at Shen Yining. I had expected someone like her, a top-level CEO, to feel uncomfortable with this kind of freeloading. But to my surprise, she was calm. Completely calm. Every movement was slow, composed, elegant, like she was dining in a Michelin restaurant.
The only problem? Every other table had side dishes, buns, dumplings, full spreads.
Our table? 2 bowls of porridge, empty. No matter how elegant we looked, the contrast made us seem kind of tragic. In my head, I could already hear a sad erhu playing in the background. A woman born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Probably had never eaten this poorly in her life. Even the owner froze when she realized we were actually not ordering anything. Still, the porridge itself had enough flavor to pass. By my 3rd bowl, I was finally full. I stood up, walked over to the owner, and smiled. Big sister, will this promotion still be running tomorrow? When does it end? Until Wednesday.
2 more days. Then she glanced at Shen Yining and asked curiously, "Is she your girlfriend?" I replied calmly, "She's my boss." Instantly, the owner understood everything. That explains it.
So that stingy behavior suddenly made perfect sense in her eyes.
Honestly, if the shop stayed open all day, I'd happily sit there the entire time. Free food, air conditioning, no work. Perfect survival strategy.
Shen Yining didn't eat much.
Just 1 bowl. And she ate it slowly.
When she finished, I frowned slightly.
Just 1 bowl?
Are you full?
Yes. The truth was, she was picky about food.
If something didn't suit her taste, she wouldn't touch it. But today, she forced herself to eat it, because if she didn't, who knew what the next meal would be? This wasn't a vacation. She had prepared mentally, but clearly not enough. After breakfast, I took her around everywhere. Park, kindergarten entrance,